So season three of Tyler Perry's Zatima series recently just
Yes.
concluded. You portrayed the character Angela, love her.
Mhm.
So
Thank
thinking
you.
back to when you first graced the set up until now, how do you feel you've grown as an actress?
Oh, I mean, in so many ways, I can honestly say from the first season, I didn't quite know what Tyler expected of us.
Hmm.
It was the first time I really got a quality time being directed by Tyler Perry. So I read the script and I had one vision of what Angela was and how she presents.
Hmm.
But while we were filming that first season, he would see me when we weren't filming and the way that I acted and, certain personality traits and my and all that
Hmm.
energy. And he'd be
Right.
like, do that. And in my mind, I was like, that's so different from how I read Angela to be. But
Mhm.
then I had to realize that he chose us for that reason. He wanted us to bring our own personality, our own spin, and really, give the characters life. So once I realized that, which you see more of in season two, the world opened up. I get to play a lot more. I get to be myself within Angela a lot more. And I think that that made me more comfortable, made everything feel more natural. And I love it. So,
Okay. So listen, Angela has had quite the season, okay?
yes. Whew.
Exposals, sugar
Yeah.
daddies,
Yeah.
bright shenanigans. So, why do you think stories like Angela's dating life is so important for the female dating pool now? Like, what do you think they could learn from it?
Oh, I mean, even more so than learning from it, I think just being able to see yourself in your own situations on screen, it's very validating. Living in Atlanta, the whole bisexuality aspect of Bryce's character is always kind of looming in the dating pool. You don't always know everyone's preference and things like that. So I think putting that on screen lets people know, like, okay, I'm not alone. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think that that can be very comforting. I wouldn't necessarily say that Angela's the person who you would want to model after or you want
Right.
to necessarily learn from, unless you want to learn from her mistakes as she's actively making
Right.
them throughout the season.
She
um,
definitely
but
is.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I do think having that mirror up to certain situations allows people to be like, oh, because you can sit in something, especially if you have strong feelings for someone, you can see something and be like, oh, they wouldn't do that, or you love them so much that you could be blind to it. But then when she's over here like, oh, Bryce wouldn't do that, and then it's like, girl, why not? Everyone else can see it but you. So
Exactly.
I do think that those are learning moments as well for the audience. It's like,
I,
girl, wake up.
yeah.
Stand up.
Some things you just gotta let go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely get it.
But it's easier said than done, especially when you're in love, in your
Hmm.
head. So,
So,
yeah.
what are your hopes for Angela's character as she develops throughout the next seasons?
I surely hope that Angela can get past the hoe phase because, I think from the origin of her character in season one, she's a lover. You see that even within her friendship. She always wants to be there for Fatima. Girl, you need me to come over. Even if Fatima say no, I'm at the door because
Every
she's
time.
the one who every
Mhm.
time, whether y'all like it or not,
Right.
I'm coming over. But I think she's a lover at heart and she's going on this whole journey just because she's emotionally trying to figure things out, and also because she feels like she got played and she's kind of trying to like stop all emotions, block out all emotions, any new love interest, anything like that. And I don't think that's her true nature. So I would love to see Angela get back on track,
Mhm.
and even if it isn't necessarily in a relationship, at least not out here just outside.
Right.
I hope she gets past that.
Mhm. So, do you think that's sort of like a coping mechanism for her? Like she's trying to protect her heart? That seems like it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think she was embarrassed. She was all in with Bryce. They was exchanging keys and everything, introducing him to the friends, going on double dates. So then to have something like that come up where he tried to, for anybody who doesn't know, he tried to kiss her best friend's boyfriend. It was embarrassing for her more than anything else because not only did you step out on me, but you stepped out on me with the person closest to, like, they all knew about it before me. So you feel like you got a dunce cap on and you don't want that experience again. So to me, that's why now, she still wants to get her fill because she was always a little
Mhm.
freak league. However, she doesn't want to let them in emotionally. And that's why you see her hopping around, bouncing around, never letting anyone get close enough anymore.
And I think that's
Yeah.
important to see because, like you said, um, some things are hard to let go of. So it's amazing to see her sort of like navigate through that. But
Mhm.
like you also said, hopefully she will get back on track.
Yeah. We'll see,
Um,
but y'all know TPS. They love to they love to stay off track.
curveballs.
There's always got to be some curveballs. There's always got to be some detours. So we'll see what happens.
So I love how vibrant and just colorful Angela is. And her
Yes.
style sort of seems kind of similar to yours. So do you have a hand in her fashion sense on the show?
I have a hard hand in her
Really?
fashion. Absolutely. We have a quick turnaround when it comes to filming and things like that. So, that when they find out our sizes, sometimes it's a few days before we're filming. And that definitely was true the first season. So shopping for a plus size woman, if you're not used to that, it can be very difficult. There's not a lot of stores that you can just go run to and pick up things. So for me, and I love our wardrobe department. This is no shade. I knew that they didn't have as many options as I have in my closet.
Mhm.
So, so the day that I went into wardrobe fitting, I saw what they had for me and said, okay, cool. I brought a suitcase. Do you guys want to see those? And they were more than happy to incorporate some things from my own fashion line, some things from my own designs, as well as just clothes that I have in my closet into the show. And that's been consistent throughout. I know whenever we're going back to film, I'm like, let me have some suits ready because I know that it might take a week for us to order it because we have to get it from somewhere else. We can't walk into every store and find things in a 3X. So it was definitely a strong hand. It was definitely a lot of my personal pieces as well as designs and all things like that. So it was amazing though to see that on screen as well, to be at a series regular in your first project and then also be able to say you had a hand in the styling and the fashion of it.
Mhm.
It was awesome. She had to be as bad as I am in
Yes.
real life. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
We couldn't half step it. I felt like I needed to represent for us because we show out.
Exactly.
So I didn't want anything less to show up on screen, especially when I'm standing next to people like Eva Marcel and Crystal Hazlett, who are in their designer couture, baby. We had to come through
Mhm.
too.
Period.
So
Well, you
yeah.
have done an amazing job. I love her fashion, and it's great to see that because, like you said, as plus size women, we already don't have many options. And also, people, I don't know, they just expect us to wear trash bags all the time or something.
Yes, they do.
So,
Paisley and floral prints, honey.
right.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears. Not only are you an actress, you're also a model, entrepreneur, singer, so many things, so multifaceted. So how do you balance your personal and professional life in the midst of all of that?
It's an everyday teeter-totter. I think I'm still definitely figuring that out. But I like to spend a lot of time with myself. I listen to the radio in the morning instead of like TV or things like that, just so I can, be present, know what's going on in the world, but also have that space of mind to figure out things on my own without constant influences from other things. Other than that, I mean, it's definitely back and forth because a lot of my personal is included in my business. My boyfriend is my photographer, my
Mhm.
sister is my assistant and helps with PR and things like that. So um, it all kind of merges together,
Mhm.
but having a close knit family definitely helps. They keep me grounded, they keep me sane. So I love that. And I think family is probably the number one thing that helps me through that.
Okay. So, sort of to piggyback off of that question, as a content creator, I'm sure it can sort of weigh on your mental health sometimes with,
Mhm.
having to meet certain expectations, trolls, all of that that ties into that. Since you have such a huge platform and so many eyes on you, how do you
Mhm.
stay so grounded and true to who you are as a person?
I mean, I don't care what they have to say. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I see it, sometimes I snap back, and more so not for my own sake, but because I know that there are other girls who see me and are inspired by me or whatever the case may be, who are also reading those comments and feel attacked. So to me, it's like sometimes if it's real crazy, I'll say my piece and I won't delete it because I feel like it's important that other people acknowledge and see how disgusting people can be truly. You know what I mean? Like I'll leave that there so that they can eat you up because
Right.
I have the time. But in a lot of ways, I've never let it really affect me. Also, I had a little have Caribbean background. My mom was pretty hard on me, so I think having that in my ear the whole time I was growing up and learning how to get past that definitely helped when it came to anybody else and their opinion of me. It was like, okay, I hear you. Yeah, put it in my back
Mhm.
pocket or throw it away, and just move on because you can't let anybody else define who you are, what you're doing. And at the end of the day, they're one small, insignificant opinion
Right.
compared to the millions of people that you could potentially impact by a simple picture, by a simple post, by simply telling your story and being authentic. So, why would I let that opinion be more important than all of these other people I can help? You know what I mean? So, I think that's what helps me balance those things as well.
So coming from that Caribbean background, I'm sure you got tough skin.
The toughest,
Uh-huh.
yes. Caribbean people say it how well. I mean, I won't even say like it is because it's not necessary. That's not really what it is. It's just sometimes they have very strong opinions and they want to make sure that you know it, whether
Hmm.
it's helpful or not. And I've experienced some crazy things, but I mean, the first time I met my grandmother, she said, "Pretty face spoiled by your belly."
Oh my goodness.
Well, nice to meet you too. You know what I mean? So things like that, where it's just like, what's wrong with you? But at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like, okay, I take that. I understand that that is how some people think, and that's unfortunate. But I'm going to continue to grow and shine and rise, and you'll sit there and watch,
Exactly.
being mad while I rise. That's just
Mhm.
how it's been. So, yeah.
So speaking of so much attention, just to spice things up a bit, I have to ask, what has been the craziest DM you've ever received on social media?
Oh,
You can think of one.
I wish that I could say I have one logged, but like I forget them as much as they come in. There's messages every day from people
Goodness.
from coming, whether it's hate mail to strangely, the other kind of love
Hmm.
mail. But I either don't click on it. You could pretty much learn from the first few words whether what it's gonna be, and I just kind of tune it out. So I really can't think
Hmm.
of much when it comes to that. Sorry. I wish I could. I wish I had something logged. I mean, I do have somebody who's a little psycho now. They literally email me 20 times a day from different email addresses. As soon as I block one, they create another one, and they're on all the social media sites with the same kind of extremely hateful messages.
Oh, goodness.
Um, and it's scary on one end because you're like, what kind of psycho is this, and what are they really capable of?
Hmm.
But on the other end, I feel like it's somebody who's miserable, just screaming into the void.
Right.
Just really seeking validation and some. So that is probably the real craziest thing. Their intent, how focused they are on
Hmm.
getting my attention, is this craziest part. But I wouldn't even repeat the things that they've said because it's
Wow.
been from everything from threats to family members to personal threats to what they would do and all types of things. So
Oh, wow.
I won't go there, but
Hmm.
I pray for them and I hope they find peace and happiness or whatever, because that's an illness at
You
the end of the day.
definitely have to be a really sick person to go through
Yeah.
this with. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my next question. Do you have any pet peeves of in terms of the responses bigger bodies garner online? On one hand, we get backhanded compliments from
Hmm.
women sometimes, and on the other hand, you have the fetishism from men. So it can be a lot. So any pet
Yes.
peeves?
I mean, all of that is pretty gross to me. I was a part of a web series called Pretty for a Big Girl, and so many people hated that. They were like, "How could you title it that?" And the reason the director or the writer Courtney Arlette created that name is because it's supposed to be exactly what it is. Like that's what we hear. That's what people say to us. That oh, she's pretty for a big girl. She's pretty. Period. There is no for a big girl. She's pretty. Why do you feel like you have to qualify it like
Mhm.
that? And I think that's probably the one that gets to me the most, because it's like it's an underhanded. It's not really a compliment at all. It loses all mention of being a compliment once you throw this qualification in, where it's like, oh, that's a surprise because she's this and she's this. That's weird. It's like, no, there are a million beautiful plus size women out here. You could just say she's beautiful. You don't have to say anything else. So
Or
yeah.
also when they say stuff like, I love your confidence. That's kind of like,
Oh,
ugh. Like, why do I
and
have to be confident to wear a dress? I'm a woman.
absolutely. And that hits me two different ways because on one end, I feel like even within the plus size community, when they say that, they don't necessarily mean because you're plus size. They may just mean, the way that you carry yourself, the way you hold your head up high. But it's like on the other end, we do have those people who are just like, you're so confident to be wearing that bikini, or you're so confident to, whatever the case may be. And it's like, it's me living my life.
Right.
You're confident too for waking up this morning and existing. Like,
Mhm.
why is it a thing where you have to be confident just to exist in the body that you have? So that is definitely another one. Yeah.
So, one of the most debatable subjects in the body positivity community, I'm sorry, is fat phobia. Well, surrounding it, I should say. While plus size representation in fashion and entertainment has come a long way, we unfortunately still have a long way to go. So,
Mhm.
as an actress and model, have you ever experienced size discrimination when going for certain gigs?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, honestly, in different ways every day of my life, whether it is professionally or just walking down the street or walking into a store or walking onto an airplane where everyone's clutching their pearls hoping that you don't sit next to them. It's a constant situation. I mean, there was a time on set where they were asking the actors weights because we were supposed to be placed on this elevated thing, and basically they needed to know the weight capacity. And when I told them 300, the person literally laughed
Wow.
and was like, "No, for real." And I was like, "No, for real."
Mhm.
And they like still kind of were confused. And I was like, "What are you confused about?
Right.
I told you the answer.
Mhm.
Do what you need to do and let's move on." But it was like, if I wasn't mentally in the place that I was in, that could have really hit me hard and that could have really shaken me up before this performance that I had to then go, in front of these same people who I know laughed when I told
Oh,
them this. So these things happen and it's unfortunate. And, being a Black woman, being a plus size person, all of these, there's always different factors that come in that make you have to stand firm in who you are, but also know that like certain people feel a way or feel like you are undeserving because of these things. And it's all their interpretation and it doesn't matter. Because guess what? I still did the scene and I killed the scene and it ended up turning into so many other things and opening so many other opportunities for me. And if I had let that one person and their opinion affect me that day,
mhm.
who knows where I would be? You know what I mean? So I'm just thankful that I got that tough skin too. Shout out to my mom. Yeah.
And I think that's something that, hopefully society can get better at is they sort of have this thing where they feel like fat people, plus size people don't have feelings too. And so that they
Mm-hmm.
can say any and everything. And it's just like, okay, I'm fat, but that's my business.
Hmm.
I see it every day.
Yeah. And it's like it doesn't affect you at all. So why are you so concerned? Yeah.
So every time I see you, whether through your content or on the TV screen, it gives me this burst of girl power. Like I'm in charge, and that's just that. And it's so refreshing to see. So many of us are guilty of, like we just talked about, feeling like our width, the width of our waist sort of defines our worth. So have you
Mhm.
experienced that yourself, or could you sort of talk about your journey to, self-esteem and self-love and things of that sort?
Uh, Fortunately, I can't say that there was ever really a time where I felt like my worth was compromised because of that. However, I was aware that other people saw it that way, whether it be, the way someone will approach me for a date versus someone else of a different size, or um I mean, it just in so many different ways where people feel like you deserve less or you should be accepting of more. And fortunately for me, I never had a point where I was too low to fight for myself or fend for myself. But it is still a constant battle. You know what I mean? It still is every day showing up and being stern about my rules, or being stern about what I'll be comfortable wearing somewhere, or what I won't wear, or how I won't let myself present, because I know I am representing people. So for me, that hasn't, I can't think of a particular time in life where I ever didn't believe that I had the worth that I know that I have. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I
just
hope that
to
makes
sort of,
sense.
it does, just to
Okay.
sort of expand on what you mentioned about dating and things like that. A lot of times as a plus size woman, it's sort of hard to decipher, okay, who likes me or who's interested in me because I am a woman versus they just want to see how it is with a big girl. So
Mhm.
how have you sort of navigated through just knowing who's really just interested for you, if that makes sense?
Well, for one, it's never been easy to get with me. So I think that that's been helpful. I am a serial monogamist. I've never really been outside. I'm in a relationship,
Right.
or I'm not in a relationship, but I get swept up pretty quick.
Mhm.
And I stay in long-term relationships. So it's like, if you're just here for a ride, you're gonna miss it, because you're not gonna get it. You're gonna have to put in some serious time, energy, and effort. So if you're committed to that, I mean, hell, even if you thought you was coming for a ride, by the end of it, you'd have fallen in love. You know what I mean? So I think that's been a way that I've avoided that for the most part. I mean, there have been disappointments. There have been times where, I'll feel connected with someone and I know that they like me back, but the way that they feel like other people would interpret their relationship with a plus size person stops them from wanting to, pursue further. That's a real thing. And that can be heartbreaking, but I feel like the best way to protect myself has always been, you know, protecting myself and making sure that I'm not, out here too easy, or just, giving up all my time and energy to somebody who hasn't put that energy back into me. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think is the biggest misconception about full-figured women, and what do you hope your artistry will sort of contribute to breaking those barriers?
Hmm. Well, I think the biggest misconception is that they always have to be the sidekick, that they're always the lead's best friend. I think we all know from the shows that we've seen where the plus size girls are the best friend of the lead, that those characters are typically more interesting, and you typically want to know more about them. And it's like, why not make that character a lead? What's stopping? It's because they feel like the masses won't connect, or the masses won't, back behind a plus size lead. I want to challenge that. You know what I mean? So I think that's moving forward something that I hope to do, where it's like, no, I can be the love, I can be the leading lady. I can be the romantic lead. I can be the ingenue. You know what I mean? I don't have to always be the funny best friend. We've seen that for too many years of
Yeah.
that same thing. So moving forward, that's what I hope to do, to break barriers and let people know, like, no, we're here, we're staying, and we're not sidekicks. We're the main character.
Well, you've definitely shown that with your character, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about your boutique, Nimani. Am I saying it correctly?
Yes, yes.
What has been your greatest lesson so far when it comes to running your boutique and learning
Hmm.
about entrepreneurship? Because some people think it's an overnight process.
Mhm.
So, what has been your greatest lesson?
Greatest lesson. Ooh. It's hard out here, y'all. Long story short, with the way that fast fashion has taken over and everyone wants things fast and cheap, it's very difficult. And although I know there's a huge market for plus size clothes, I would be remiss in not saying that, competing against stores that can make 1,000 pieces overnight and sell them for $2, it's hard to find a community that's still willing to pay quality for quality items or quality money for quality items. So the biggest lesson has just been trying to navigate that. Just,
Mhm.
really, I started this brand with the intent of designing the clothes specifically how I envision them and things like that. But, everything is a process and we grow. So originally I'm doing it wholesale where I'm buying things and we style it and then we resell. I was hoping by this time, we're about 3 years in, that we would have been able to move and upscale into the time where I'm able to design and manufacture the designs that I have in my head. But it's coming slower than I thought just because of that competition where, all the brands are selling closer to $2 and
Right.
making it for pennies.
Yes.
So, knowing that it's not going to be quick or easy, but knowing your reason and your why and staying firm in that is important. So just trying to navigate that myself still.
Anything you would do differently from when you first started your business?
um, I think I would have started with smaller collections. Started with, maybe 10 items max for a drop and, focusing on my energy on pushing those items and then, repeating that instead of having, a site that's up year long and that has all these different choices because it's for one, it's hard holding all of that inventory. It's like I have a small business. You have to have somewhere to store all these things. And then it's me and my family running it. So we're packaging the items, we're shooting the items, we're all the things, running the
Oh,
websites. Um, that's how it's got to be right now because it is in house and because we're still focused on growing. We haven't hit to a place where we can start hiring a whole bunch of employees to handle these things. But doing all of that while being in shows and creating and doing it's very it's very daunting. So I'm not sure. I mean, I guess that the capsule collections would be my biggest thing, just so that I have a certain amount of things that I can focus on, put all my energy into, and know, at the end of this, we'll have, if we have this many pieces left, or if we don't have anything and we're sold out, we've done great. But if we have things left, then we can move on and figure out what to do with the next collection instead of having to run that through the whole year.
right.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I saw that you have a birthday coming up. Happy early birthday. What would you say to the younger Nzinga looking back on your life?
Girl is coming. Keep doing it. Um, there have been so many times where things were so close to like, oh, this is my big break, and then they get like tabled or sidelined in different ways, and that can be so heartbreaking. And it almost makes you feel like this is never going to happen. But at the end of the day, the things that you don't even know are having an impact are the things that'll really get you in the door. Seriously, whether that's an Instagram post, whether that's a indie film with your best friends, whatever the case may be, because you don't know who's going to see that and how they're going to be impacted, and then what influence they may have 5 years down the road, where they might not have had a job when you met them, but next thing you know, they're the assistant to somebody big at TPS, and they can either talk you up or show your stuff to the right people where they can take you seriously. So I mean, I went from one episode of All the Queen's Men to a series regular in Zatima. That is almost unheard of. But what people don't know is that there was like a 7 year span of where I was not able to book anything. So keep going, keep your head up and keep creating, whether or not it's on TV or just for your family at the house or, for your followers online. Keep going. It's important.
And I feel like everything happens when it's supposed to. Sometimes we get so
Absolutely.
caught up on, this isn't happening for me right now. But then when we
Mhm.
finally realize it wasn't time. So,
Oh, and it always happens in the right time because
yeah.
if I had gotten the opportunity 2 years earlier, I would be in a much different place mentally, financially. I wasn't mature enough even financially to really handle the blessing that came with becoming a series regular until the time that it did.
Right.
So I'm always thankful for that. There's definitely a reason. Your rejection is your protection.
Yes, that is.
So I'm thankful for that for sure.
So now that we're in 2025, I'm sure your resume will only get even longer. So any dream acting roles you see yourself in the future?
Uh, I mean, so many. I would love to become part of the Marvel universe. Oh my goodness. But I think my biggest one and something that I hope to achieve very soon is doing a musical series or a musical film. Like I have to merge my love of music with this love of acting and also let people know that I can sing because apparently nobody knows.
Mhm. Put out that
I need
album,
people.
sis.
I'm telling you, this year, something's coming, something's coming. But yeah, a musical series because I feel like music is just so powerful, and musicals are what made me fall in love with acting to begin with. So I feel like if I was able to do that, or when I'm able to do that, because I'm going to do that, that is going to be life changing. So I'm excited.
I can't wait for it. What's next for you?
Oh, I mean, there's always so many things. I just finished a short film that I did with Rotimi. Really
Oh,
excited about that. That'll be on the film festival circuit soon, and I think it's really powerful. Yeah, story similar to what we're talking about. Being a plus size woman, being a Black woman, how it affects if we were to get pregnant, and we all know that the mortality rates for pregnant Black women, it doesn't match. It's not adding up, in comparison. So, to bring light to that story as well, I'm really excited. And it was amazing working with Rotimi. So, just being able to take on these new projects and tell stories that are important, I think is what I'm most excited about coming up.
that